everyone. If you've ever felt stuck when someone asks about your career goals, maybe in a job interview or even a casual conversation, you're not alone. Today, we're going to help you speak clearly and confidently about your future, your ambitions, and what you really want in your career. I'm Anna.
And I'm Leo. This is a topic that can feel stressful because you want to sound natural, professional, and confident at the same time. But don't worry, we'll guide you step by step to a real conversation so you can express your goals in a clear and comfortable way.
All right, Leo, let's get started. So let me ask you something you might hear in a job interview or even during networking. What are your career goals?
That's a great question. I'd say my main career goal is to grow into a role where I can combine communication and problem solving. Right now, I'm focused on building strong skills, but in the long term, I'd like to take on more responsibility and maybe even lead a team.
I see. That sounds well thought out. When you say take on more responsibility, what kind of responsibilities are you thinking about?
Good question. I mean being involved in decision-making, helping guide projects, and supporting others on the team, not just doing tasks, but actually contributing to the bigger picture.
That makes sense. So you're not only focused on your own work, but also on the impact you can have overall.
Exactly. And I think that's something employers really value too, people who think beyond just their individual tasks.
Right, absolutely. For me, my career goals are a bit different, but there's a similar idea. I want to continue growing as an English teacher, but also expand into creating more educational content that reaches people globally.
That sounds really interesting. When you say expand, do you mean like online courses or videos?
Yes, exactly. Online platforms, video lessons, maybe even interactive programs. I want to help learners feel more confident using English in real-life situations.
That's a strong goal. And I like how specific it is. You're not just saying, I want to grow, you're explaining how you want to grow.
That's actually a really important point. When you talk about career goals, it helps to be clear and a bit specific, not too long, but enough to show direction.
Right. And if you're not completely sure about your future yet, that's okay too. You can still talk about what you're interested in or what you're working toward right now.
Exactly. You don't need a perfect answer. You just need a clear and honest one.
Let me ask you something, Anna. How would you answer this question in a job interview versus a casual conversation? Would you say the same thing?
That's a really great point. In a job interview, I would probably make my answer more focused and professional. I'd connect my goals to the company or the role I'm applying for.
Got it. So more tailored to the situation.
Yes, exactly. But in a casual conversation, I might be more relaxed and personal. I could talk about what I enjoy, what motivates me, and what I'm exploring.
That makes a lot of sense. So the structure is similar, but the tone changes depending on the situation.
Right. And here's a useful phrase for everyone watching. I'm working toward. For example, I'm working toward becoming a manager, or I'm working toward improving my skills in marketing.
That's a really natural phrase. It shows progress, not just a fixed goal.
Exactly. It sounds more flexible and realistic.
Actually, can I ask for clarification on that? When you say working toward, does it mean the same as trying to achieve?
Great question. Yes, very similar. Working toward means you are actively making progress step by step. It feels a bit more continuous and practical than just trying.
Got it. So it emphasizes action over time.
Exactly.
All right, let me try using it. I'm working toward developing leadership skills so I can eventually manage a team effectively.
That sounds excellent, clear, natural, and confident.
Thanks. And I think another helpful tip is to include both short-term and long-term goals.
Yes, that's very effective. For example, you can say, in the short term, I want to gain experience, and in the long term, I'd like to move into a leadership position.
That structure makes your answer feel complete.
Exactly. It shows that you're thinking ahead, but also staying grounded in the present.
All right, let's try another version. Anna, what are your short-term and long-term career goals?
In the short term, I'm focused on gaining experience and improving my communication skills. In the long term, I'd like to move into a leadership role where I can help guide projects and support a team.
That sounds strong and balanced.
Thanks. I think the key is to keep it simple and honest.
Absolutely. You don't need complicated vocabulary. Clear and natural English is always better.
And if you ever don't understand the question, it's okay to ask for clarification.
Yes, for example, you can say, "Could you please repeat the question?" Or, "Do you mean my long-term goals or my current plans?"
That shows confidence, not weakness.
Exactly. Communication is always more important than perfection. All right, I think we're off to a great start with this conversation.
All right, let's keep going. Leo, I want to go a bit deeper here. Sometimes people ask a follow-up question like, why did you choose this career path? How would you answer that?
That's a really common follow-up. I'd probably say something like, "I chose this path because I enjoy working with people and solving problems. Over time, I realized that communication plays a big role in almost everything, so I decided to focus on developing those skills."
That sounds very natural. You're explaining both your interest and your reasoning.
Exactly, and I think it's important to connect your goals to something personal, not just what you want, but why you want it.
Right, because that makes your answer more meaningful and memorable.
Let me ask you the same question. Why did you choose your career path?
For me, it started with a passion for helping people communicate. I noticed that many learners felt nervous speaking English, and I wanted to help them feel more confident. Over time, that turned into a career where I could teach and create content at the same time.
That's a great example. It feels genuine and easy to follow.
Thanks. And notice how I didn't use complicated words. I kept it simple and clear.
That's a really important point. A lot of learners think they need advanced vocabulary to sound professional, but that's not true.
Exactly. Clarity is more important than complexity.
Now, here's another question people often hear. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yes. That question can make people nervous.
Definitely. It sounds like you need a perfect answer, but you really don't.
Right. You just need to show direction and motivation.
So, Anna, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself continuing to grow professionally, reaching more students, and possibly leading larger educational projects. I'd also like to keep improving my skills and adapting to new ways of teaching.
That's a strong answer. It shows growth, flexibility, and ambition.
Thank you. What about you?
In 5 years, I see myself in a more advanced role where I can take on leadership responsibilities. I'd like to be part of meaningful projects and continue learning from experienced professionals.
That sounds great, and again, very clear and natural.
Let's add one more situation. Sometimes people ask, what kind of work environment do you prefer?
That's a good one. It's not exactly about goals, but it's closely related.
Right, because your environment affects your career growth.
Exactly. For me, I'd say I prefer a supportive and collaborative environment where people share ideas and help each other improve.
That's a great answer. I'd say something similar. I prefer a workplace where communication is open and where I can both learn and contribute.
That makes sense. And notice how we're both using simple structures, but still sounding natural and professional.
Let's do a quick recap in a more complete answer. Anna, can you give a full response to what are your career goals, combining everything we discussed?
Sure. I'd say my career goal is to continue growing as an English teacher while expanding my reach through online content. In the short term, I'm focused on improving my teaching methods and connecting with more learners. In the long term, I'd like to create larger educational platforms that help people feel confident using English in real-life situations.
That's excellent. Clear structure, natural flow, and very easy to understand.
Thanks. Your turn.
All right. My career goal is to develop strong communication and leadership skills. In the short term, I'm working toward gaining experience and improving how I collaborate with others. In the long term, I'd like to move into a leadership role where I can guide projects and support a team.
That sounds a perfect example. Very natural and confident.
And that brings us to the end of today's conversation.
We hope this helped you feel more comfortable talking about your career goals in English. Remember, you don't need perfect answers, just clear, honest, and simple communication.
Take your time, speak naturally, and don't be afraid to ask for clarification when you need it.
If you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the English Talk channel.
Your support really helps us continue creating these conversations for you.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye for now, and take care.